Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell. Of course, I am your host, KG, and with me I have my faithful and loyal co host, the wrestling enthusiast, Mark. What's up, man?
Nothing. I'm just thinking I'm your Robin to your Batman.
yeah, man, it is going through one more Arctic blast. It's getting cold. I'm over it.
As I'm rubbing my hands together.
Yeah. A couple of quick things. So Ric Flair was recently on a podcast. It's called Five Star Podcast, and he said that he wants one more match. He thinks he has another match in him. Now look, Ric Flair's Ric Flair, and you know he is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But look, his last match that he had, which was supposed to be his final match, he barely survived that one. Matter of fact, the other gentlemen who were involved in this match pretty much had to carry him. They even had to buy time for him to really catch his breath. And now he's saying he wants one more match. I think he's 73 years old. It's like he doesn't understand that every time he does this, he is making a mockery of what he once was.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a huge Ric Flair fan, but you know what? It's time to let it go. I mean, he could be in phenomenal shape for 73, but the fact of the matter is, you're 73, and I think the only thing he's trying to do is probably point is to set a record for longest career or some shit.
Well, the thing is, though, is he's not in phenomenal shape at
For
all.
he might be.
Nah, he's not, man. He's still drinking pretty heavily. He's not, and even for his age, I wouldn't say he's in phenomenal shape. But I hope that this is just talk and this doesn't turn into him having another match. But I guess it's his life. So
Well, when I'm talking about phenomenal shape, I'm talking about the average 73 versus Ric Flair at 73, not Ric Flair at 53. I'm talking, how's he look compared to every other 73-year-old person? He's
not
probably
good.
he's probably in phenomenal shape.
I would argue that. No, I apologize to those who faithfully watched the podcast. We didn't recap Monday night with it being New Year's Eve, and I wasn't feeling well. I dropped the ball on that one, so I apologize. But I will say this about Monday Night Raw. It was announced that they had something really big and something very special for their last Raw on USA Network, right? And man, if this was their big something special, they failed. I wasn't that impressed with Raw. Now I know the face to face by Seth Rollins and CM Punk. People have been praising CM Punk. I think Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, even said that this was his best promo. And look, I maybe it's just me. I see it differently. I don't think it was a great face to face. I don't think that it was a great promo by either Seth or CM Punk. Am I missing something?
You know, Nothing sticks out in my mind, but I've got CRS, can't remember shit. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But I thought it was a decent promo, but I didn't think it was extraordinary or fabulous or, you know, must watch. And as far as, Monday Night Raw, if there was something special for a farewell for USA, I didn't feel it. I didn't see it. And I thought it was probably overall a C average uh, podcast or show, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way about Dynamite. I think that this, week of wrestling, Monday night and then last night for Dynamite, it was just kind of boring. And the thing with Dynamite last night was this was their first time that it was simulcast on Max. And, I had read that they were hoping to gain a bunch of new fans that they never reached before because it was on Max. And I got to tell you that, at least in my opinion, last night wasn't a very good presentation to try to gather new eyes on the product because I thought it was kind of boring. I mean, they had some good matches. The very first match, it was a decent match, but yeah, I just wasn't impressed at all with neither wrestling shows this week.
Um, yeah, you're right. They had some high spots, but overall, I fell asleep during it. I had to go back and watch it this evening. Um, and always, I don't know what's going on with my recording, but if it goes over the time frame, it'll count the last 2 minutes. So thankfully, it was on HBO Max. I couldn't find it this morning at 3 a.m., but I found it tonight. Um, yeah, I wasn't overly excited about it either. I did notice some production value differences. It looked like it was a higher grade of production value. And that was mainly lighting, I think, more than anything else. Looked like a decent crowd, probably eight, maybe 9,000. It definitely was a smaller venue. But yeah, I wasn't jumping for joy. I mean, I lost a lot of my oofta from Saturday night going, hey, Wednesday's going to be a must see. I was kind of let down. I'm not going to sit there and say different.
Yeah, and I look, we talked about this on our recap from Saturday night that one big problem AEW has is no follow through. And once again, I think we've seen this from the pay-per-view to Dynamite. There just wasn't that follow through and that build up, or that reward from the build up from the pay-per-view onto, Wednesday night. So I don't know. I hope that we're going to see AEW weekly shows get better with it now being on Max, but I think that they have to step it up if they truly want to gain new eyes. But yeah, let's get into it.
Well, hold on now. I did think there was some follow up. I just think it was poor follow up in a lot of
Well,
this. So
right.
I think there was follow up, but I just think it was not as good as it should have been or could have been. So,
Yeah, but it was follow up that didn't really add to, to much at all.
yep, exactly, exactly. All right. So, anyways, AEW came from Asheville, North Carolina. I believe that's where FTR is from, or somewhere similar or close by. Um, I think a lot of times with these wrestlers, if they actually use their hometowns, they use the biggest city next to their hometown. Instead of some podunk, you know, 800, 800 population town that they were born in.
Yeah,
I,
well,
I'm,
one reason why Town was Ashtown, that's the name of it, huh?
Asheville.
Asheville. The reason why I was focused was the focus was there was because of the hurricane that came across. And look, don't misunderstand me. It's great what AEW and what FTR was doing for Ashtown with raising money, but yeah, it could have been stronger. But yeah,
All right, so they kind of copied WWE at this point with their first couple minutes of showing the wrestlers coming in and promoting what's coming on tonight and whatnot. I did notice that was a little bit different than normal. I think I could be wrong, but I saw a little bit more of that than I did in previous times. I think. But we start with Orange Cassidy versus Hangman. Not a bad match. Hangman ended up getting the pin. Christopher Daniel came out after Hangman attacked uh, Orange after the mat. Christopher Daniel came out and he got laid out, and Paige just walked off.
yeah. Now I tell you, I really hope that this wasn't the beginning of a feud between Christopher Daniels and Hangman Adam Page because I'll be honest with you, I don't care to see it. at one time, Christopher Daniels was considered to be, one of the wrestlers that had the spotlight on him throughout his career. He's had a decent career, but at this stage of his career, every time he's gotten to the mat into a match, it's just about been a squash match. So why should I care about a feud between these two guys? So I really hope that they were just adding an extra layer to what Hangman was doing to Orange Cassidy, and that it isn't a feud that's going to happen between, again, Christopher Daniels and Hangman.
Yeah, I can agree. Daniels had a decent career, in smaller promotions. Um, I think a lot of times they bring these guys back for nostalgic, and that's great. I wasn't a huge Christopher Daniel fan because I really didn't see him in his heyday. I guess I think when him and what was it, Eli Skipper in TNA when they were a tag team, man, they pull out some phenomenal stuff. But again, that was 10, 15 years ago. You know, I never saw the draw for Crystal Daniels in AEW. Um, so nostalgic or not, I could pass on a match.
Well, look, let's not forget though, Christopher Daniels, and I can't remember his tag team partner in AEW. His name's on the tip of my tongue, but if I'm not mistaken, they were the very first tag team champs when for AEW when AEW first debuted 5 years ago, and they had some pretty good matches. But yeah, ever since the match where if they didn't win, they had to break up. I mean, he hasn't really did much of anything, to be honest with you. And again, uh, I think that if he was being used correctly, that maybe there could be something there between him and Hangman because they do have history together, right? But because of the way he's been used, I just don't care. And I would dare to say that I bet there's a lot of fans who are saying the same thing, that they just wouldn't care about this.
Yeah, I don't see where it benefits Hangman or Daniel. So yeah, I don't see any benefit to this at all. So all right. So anyways, we go to Jay White talking about his win and loss and how and his upcoming match. Uh, then we go to the Acclaim versus the Hurt Syndicate. This is kind of a brutal match a little bit, and it ends up with Bowens walking off. Um,
Yeah, the claim they're just about done. I don't know how much I'm going to care about these two guys feuding with one another. Maybe it'll be a good match, these two fighting. I don't know. I'll just wait and see, I guess, to see how they present it, how they break up, and what kind of feud they're going to have. I was really, but look, the Hurt Syndicate, I think it was the right call. They pretty much squashed the Acclaim, right? And I think that was the right call. I think they're Hurt Syndicate. They need to continue to be pushed in this direction of being these two guys that is just ruthless, and the team that is going to be hard to beat. I hope to see the title on them soon, tag team titles.
Absolutely, they kind of remind me of Doom back in the day. Other than the fact that they have probably more wrestling skills than Doom did.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Next, we go to an interview with Swerve talking about the casino battle royal that's coming up. Really, not much beyond that, to be honest. Then we go to Jamie Hayter versus Julia Hart. This was actually a decent match. Um, Julia Hart tried to pull some shenanigans with an arrow, and then Jamie Hayter got a shot in, and all of a sudden she got a mist full of or a face full of mist, and then Julia Hart got the pin. And to be honest, while I think it's dirty unhanded, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I am too. It was good to see Julia Hart back. The one thing I was confused about was, the mist that Julia Hart sprayed into Jamie Hayter's face. Usually the mist is black, and after the match, it's like it was clear. There was nothing on her face. So I was a little confused about what the hell is going on there.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that until I just read this. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. That mist didn't seem colored, which is, I can live with it, Uh maybe something went funky or something. I don't know, but I guess I can go back and watch it and see if there was actually any color. Because they really kind of panned out of that one real quick when the pin happened.
Yeah, and look, again, I'm glad to see Julia Hart back, but you could definitely tell that there was some ring rust. It was a good match. It was. I'm not saying that it was a good match, but you can definitely tell that Julia Hart hadn't been in the ring for quite a while, because this definitely was not her best match that she's ever had. I've seen her much, in wrestling matches where she was much better. And again, she was good, but I think that she was off a little bit because of the
Ring rust.
that rust, her just getting back. But I think that soon enough we'll see her back to being the phenomenal wrestler that she is.
Well, you got
I just hold on. I just hope that this feud between her and Jamie Hayter doesn't go on for weeks because I'm just not a big fan of the feud.
yeah. You got to remember though, Julia's still not all that experienced. She's
Right.
still pretty green. Okay, so then we go backstage to Okada. He was nothing but bragging, I guess, more or less. Um, I guess a couple things I want to point out. Kenny Omega's going to be on next week, I guess. I don't know what capacity. And also, it's rumored that Dustin Rhodes is no longer under AEW contract, but he still holds the Ring of Honor tag team with Sammy Guevara and I believe the trios with the Von Erich boys.
Actually, Dustin Rhodes just announced a week ago, maybe a little bit less, I'm not sure, but he just announced that he did resign with AEW.
Gotcha. All right. So let me go to Monet to the Ring. Video clip of her 2024 year, I guess is the best way I can put it. Now she's going up against Mina Shavira or Chikawa in
Mhm.
Japan, and Mina's got a title, and if Monet wins that, which wouldn't surprise me to be honest, because it's belt versus belts. I don't see Monet getting the world title anytime soon. Just being a belt collector at this point. If she by chance loses, then I could see her going for the world title and getting it.
Yeah, so what it was is she won in the females division, best wrestling match of 2024. And she's also said that, and she didn't say it last night, but I think it might have been a post. But she did say that she believes that Statlander is her wrestling soulmate, that Statlander pushes her to be better in the ring. So now, was that a shoot or was that kayfabe? I don't know. But if it was a shoot, if it was real, and she sincerely meant that, I can actually see it because you and I both said on the recap of their pay per view this past Saturday that this was probably Monet's best match that she's had since she's been with AEW. I mean, it was a really good match. We were surprised by it. So maybe, but the thing is she better figure it out though, because she Statlander, the storyline between those two, it can't last forever. So she needs to be able to be, look, she's holding these title belts, right? So she has to be able to be that good with anybody she's in a ring with, even if she's the one that's having to carry that match.
Well, here's my speculation. I think she's given the stage for Statlander to take the TBS title, so she moves on to something else. You know, again, I firmly believe that she's got the Cody Rhodes contract where she's not going to sign with AEW unless there's a world title run or world title in the picture. You know, and I guess if I was her, she held the cards. I'd say the same thing. Yeah, I'd be happy to come with you. You're going to pay me enough, that's fine. But I want a world title run.
Yeah,
So get what you can, Well, whether I think she's phenomenal in the ring or not, good for her to get what she got. I'm not going to sit there and say different. What's the lifespan of a wrestler nowadays? Average 10 years, you know? Well, 15 when you try to make it.
right.
Once you make it
Or
to
if, or if you Ric Flair, then
15 years,
forever.
right. All right, so next we go to Roderick Strong, Jay White, and Swerve. Again, this was a decent match. I'm not going to sit there and say different. It didn't give me the level of expectation I wanted, especially with Jay White and Swerve. And I'm not taking anything away from Roger Strong. He's just not my cup of tea. Does he have the ability? Yeah. He just lacks that certain je ne sais quoi to me. Ricochet interferes, attacking Swerve. Jay White got the pin. Um, Ricochet attacks Swerve after the match again. And the Undisputed came out to basically shoo him away. I don't know if they really came to assist Swerve, but it was an interesting twist for me.
Well, that was the best part of the match for me was seeing that side of Ricochet. I mean, he busted Swerve open. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think that Ricochet being a heel is the right move for him. I think he's headed in the right direction, and I think potentially Ricochet and Swerve should could possibly have a really really good match together.
Yeah, but I still think he needs an ally. Ricochet does.
Oh, he needs someone that is going to talk a lot for him because he's really good in the ring, and I'm not saying he's terrible on the mic, but he's definitely not the best. So if he can have a mouthpiece, I think that would really elevate him.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So next we go backstage with Jay Lethal, Sandra Dutt, and whoever the 7'4" guy is. I can't remember his name. Sorry. Um, there's speculation about Jeff Jarrett and what was going on with him. I hadn't heard nothing about this or anything about this. But then it got down to talking about retirement.
Yeah, so there was Jeff Jarrett actually on the pay-per-view, I believe it was. He said that he would have something to say on Wednesday and kind of speculated that he was retiring, which of course we found out that he's not. He basically wanted to say that he signed another contract with AEW and he wants to be world champion. But this is my issue with this. Isn't it very coincidental that the same time that they're doing this with John Cena in WWE, that now all of a sudden they're doing their own retirement angle or my last run angle with Jeff Jarrett? I'm not saying that AEW purposely copied WWE. I don't know. Maybe it is coincidence, but it just looks really bad. And nothing against Jeff Jarrett, but I'm sure he'll go down in history as being, one of the better wrestlers. I've just never liked Jeff Jarrett. I've just never been a fan of his. I don't think he's that great with promos. I've never really cared about any storylines he's been into. I've always viewed Jeff Jarrett as just a mid Carter.
It's funny you mention all that because probably 3 weeks ago I would have gone with you 100%. All right, but and I never viewed him as world champ, whether it was WCW, TNA, or whatever. Well, TNA was just a gimme because it was his company, you know. I like the fact that he kind of acknowledged TNA in his promo last night. But there's something about Jarrett at this point where you know what? I'd like to see the old goat get one more run, even if it's transitional. And I doubt he'll get a world title, but I can see the Continental or the international title or whatever it is. I can see him getting one of those two. But as far as being a world champ again, I don't see it. But if he does get it, give it to him for one pay per view to the next, and we'll call it a day. And I can be okay with that. You
Look,
know,
this is going to sound really dickish, but whatever. The only reason why I'm ever glad to see Jeff Jarrett on my TV is because that allows me to have a cigarette break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I tell you what, I Jeff Jarrett did his job very well because I didn't like him in WWE when he was a heel. I didn't like him in WCW as a heel. I absolutely despised him as a four horseman. Um, but he's got that arrogance about him. You know, is he good? Yeah, he's actually probably underrated to be honest. Um, but you know, I think from almost the get go when I saw him when he was 165 pounds wrestling in Tennessee, when he was 18, 19 years old, I didn't care for him. He wasn't believable at 165 pounds, beating guys twice his size. He's not believable at 35 when he was world champ. He wasn't believable at 38 when he was an intercontinental champ. I just didn't buy into it. He wasn't imposing. He wasn't uh, fearful, but he had the wrestling skill and ability. I'm not going to sit there and say different, you know, but, he's a legacy wrestler and he used it for his benefit to the best of his ability. I won't take that away from him, you
Yeah,
know,
like I said, I'm sure that there's people out there who like him. Like he's just, I just don't care when it comes to
I
him.
I had a guy that used to work for me that met him ran into him at a casino, said he was the nicest guy,
Yeah,
uh,
I've heard that a few times that Jeff Jarrett. Matter of fact, there is a guy who used to wrestle for TNA. His name was Kevin Northcutt, and Kevin's wife used to bartend with me. Gosh, 20 something years ago on Bourbon Street. Back when I used to bartend on Bourbon Street. She was a server there, and I got to meet Kevin quite a few times. And one of the first things I asked him was, "How was it, working for Jeff Jarrett?" And he was like, "Man, Jeff Jarrett's a great guy. He's down to earth." So yeah, I mean, I've heard that a few times that Jeff Jarrett is a good guy, and he probably is. And again, we all have our likes and dislikes when it comes to professional wrestling. I'm not saying that I'm absolutely right, and because I'm not into him, that no one else should. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just myself not a fan.
right. All right. So, and again, 3 weeks ago, I would have been 100% behind you, but for some reason, I'm a sucker for the underdog. And I'm not saying Jeff's an underdog, but the chance of him being a world champion, he's an underdog, you know. And for the sake of argument, I'd like to see him get one more run, brief, but one more run. I guess I like how down to earth he is at this point, you know, and not that arrogant prick that he normally is, you know. I think, I started changing during that Owen Hart tournament, you know,
Mm.
because of his and Owen's relationship in the past. Uh, and he started showing a different side of himself, and you could see the turn happening then. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
but this is the thing about Jeff Jarrett. Um, when he does a babyface turn, it doesn't last very long. Jeff Jarrett is a natural heel. I can tolerate Jeff Jarrett more as a heel than I can a babyface because him being a babyface is just not believable to me. And it's not because he's not able to sell himself as a babyface. I think for myself, it's more of,
you got
the majority of the time I've watched him throughout his career, he's been a heel. So that's just what I'm accustomed to and I prefer is a heel Jeff Jarrett.
you got to see him welding the guitar. All right, so next we go to Mariah May backstage, basically bragging, and my opinion of Mariah May is slowly changing. I don't care for her promos much because I think she's just gibberish. But her in-ring ability has improved quite a bit, and she gets some wins by hook, snook, or crook. And I'm okay with that. She's actually defended the title quite often, quite regularly, and she puts on relatively good matches. Not great, but good matches.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I will say that I think her promo last night was probably the best promo I've seen her do since she's been on AEW. So I didn't mind her promo last night.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree with you. She's someone else who is young that you're starting to see her mature as a wrestler right in front of you. But yeah, she seems like she gets better and better each and every match.
I think I could say night, and you say day, just to spite me. All right, so then next we go to Jeff Jarrett to the ring, talking about retirement, and then announcing he signed a contract. We've already covered this, and he wants a world champion run. All right, so next we go to a recap of Hook versus Christian Cage. Hook challenges. Um, what the hell is that right here? Oh, challenges Cage at the next pay per view. This is kind of getting old, you know. Um, and I'm all for a long feud, but these two just don't have that chemical or chemistry.
Chemistry.
Right.
Yeah,
I just don't see it. I
yeah,
think it was for Hook's career to actually go with Christian and be in his group.
yeah. I agree. Surprisingly, because it's Christian, even with Christian, this feud is just I'm ready for it to be done. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't even have much to say about it. I'm just ready for Cage to move on to somebody else because this just isn't working for me. I think partially it's because Hook, because of Hook, he's okay in the ring, but man, he has a lot of work to do on his promos and his mic skills. That's where I think he's really lacking at. I don't think he's figured out how to make fans care about him just yet. I think that he'll possibly get there, or I hope he does. But right now, I just don't think he's there. At least for me, he's not.
He kind of comes across as brooding and less is more. Um, down to earth and just calling it like it is. All right. That's great for some wrestlers, but it's not working for him at this point. He does need a mouthpiece to kind of coach him along, get him along. And Christian would have been a great mouthpiece for him.
But
And
with Hook, I think it was better when he was kind of that silent guy. He didn't say much of anything at all. And he just got into the ring, did his thing, and then left. He reminded me of Chris Benoit, not because of the way he wrestles, but in the fact that Chris Benoit was a very, very quiet type wrestler. He didn't do a whole lot of promos. He let his matches speak for themselves, and that's the way Hook was at first. But then when they paired him with I think it was Jungle Boy. I can't remember who was with where the whole potato chip thing. Man, it was stupid, and that's where he lost me. And now he's doing these promos on a regular basis, and I just I think that it's best if he's that solid guy that he lets his action speaks for himself. I don't know why they don't have Taz with him because Taz is a good mouthpiece. It's his father, so I think they would have that natural chemistry together as far as Taz being his manager. I don't know, maybe Taz just doesn't want to be involved and he's good with just being a color commentary. I don't know, but yes, they need to have someone speaking for Hook or go back to Hook hardly speaking at all.
I think Taz wants to back away and let Hook become his own man. I think that's what it is. Because initially Hook was tagging along with Taz before he started wrestling while he was in training, I guess. So, all right. So next we go to the learning tree. I believe, and this is probably where I fell asleep because my notes are shoddy. Challenges FTR on Saturday night. Does that sound about right?
Yep, yep, that does. And as much as I like FTR, when it comes to this, don't care. Big Bill, there's just something about him that just doesn't click with me. And the Bad Apple, um, I've never liked him from day one. He's not someone that I have ever been excited to see wrestle. He's not a bad wrestler, but again, there's just that disconnect, and I don't know. It's not there. So I can give two shits.
I think it gets down to Big Bill just can't cut a promo worth of shit. Um, and like it or not, his height of his career was with Enzo, and I think they need to bring Enzo back for that mouthpiece because Enzo was that multi little shit in grade school that had the school bully as his backup, so you didn't fuck with him.
Yeah, I just watched an interview with Enzo a few days ago, and they asked him if he thought AEW was interested in him because there was rumors for a while about that, and he point blank said that he doesn't think AEW is interested in him whatsoever. That if AEW was going to ask him to come to the company, that he thought they would have done it by now.
You know, Enzo in the ring is above average, but you pair the two of them together. I don't want to say it's magical, but it's above average. And Enzo on the mic is almost second to none. Enzo on the mic is you know it's worth the money.
Yeah, I think they'd be better off if he did come to AEW with not putting Enzo in the ring as a wrestler. Let him be a full-fledged manager. Um, Let him have Big Bill. Even a Hook, really, as long as he's the mouthpiece.
Yep. And actually pairing Hook and Big Bill together wouldn't be a bad idea because then you got this you know uh schoolyard bully that's got the bigger bully behind him. You know, I'm not going to discredit Hook. I think Hook can legitimately fight. I really do. And I think his dad probably taught him how to fight, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I said that, for me, Hook was better when he was silent and he went into the match, did his thing, and then just walked the fuck out, right? Because look, Hook is very, very young and he's only going to get better in the ring. Is he going to get better cutting promos? I don't know. Some people just don't have that talent.
Well, hold on. You brought up a funny, interesting thing when you brought up Benoit. Because if you watch Benoit's first interviews when he got to WWF versus his last year, he had improved tremendously. But again, he was like that Arn Anderson. He spoke what he spoke, and he's believable when he spoke it.
Yeah, and I agree. He did get better. But even after he got better, he didn't sit there and cut these long promos. It was very brief, and he went to the ring and did his thing.
Yep. Yeah, he let his work speak for itself. So, all right. So next we go to MJF. Apparently after Saturday night's match, and I might buy that. Um, basically saying he never lost the title, and he's coming for Moxley. So I think Moxley's got his plate full because everybody's coming for Moxley.
Yeah, MJF's promo last night was the first time I've seen the old MJF since he's come back. It was a good promo, and but this is what confuses me about the Moxley thing is they keep on booking Moxley like he's a face instead of that heel, because again, heels try to get out of defending their titles versus Moxley was wanting to defend his title. So I just don't know what they're doing with this and this whole Death Rider thing and this whole storyline that they have with the Death Riders. It's not going anywhere and it's not gaining any traction. People, just from the things that I have read from fans and wrestling journalists, um, people just don't care about it because they have no direction. So I don't know. Maybe Edge coming being back is going to give them that direction. I don't know, but they desperately need to find the direction that Death Riders are trying to go to, or else all of this will have been for nothing. And speaking about Edge, and we'll get to it, He now goes by Cope. That's his new name in AEW is Cope, short for Copeland. I hate it. I think it's terrible. AEW is. I don't know if this was a Tony Khan's decision or a Adam Copeland's decision, but regardless, it's bad.
I think it was a legal issue.
Well, he was dressed as Adam Copeland. The only thing WWE owns is Edge, right? So he could have stayed as Adam Copeland. Um, Cope, that's terrible.
Yeah, not excited. So when you talk about Death Riders, I think I lost a lot of interest in them when they dropped the BBC. I thought they were a lot more interesting as the BBC than the Death Riders. To me, the name change just kind of put a fork in them. They're done. So that's my opinion.
I agree.
And it's sad that just a name change will kill a career, but we've seen that 1,000 times, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's just not the name change, though. It's the confusion of what they're trying to do with the storyline. It's like it's a storyline without characters. I mean, you have the Death Riders, but then what? It's they hate or they want to control AEW because they want AEW to be this way, but who are really they fighting against? It's just makes no sense.
Right. All right. So then that leads us to the Death Riders versus FT rated R. This match was a little chaotic. I actually enjoyed it better than, or more than I thought I would. Um, there were some high points, and there was, coming back from an injury like Edge did, or excuse me, Cope did. He took some liberties that I probably wouldn't have at his age, and just coming back from an injury. But bless him. I did notice on a page that I think you commented on, or maybe not, I can't remember. Someone is complaining about a 53-year-old taking on a 40-year-old, and this is the direction that AEW wants to go on. I simply reminded them, don't worry about their age, just worry about their performance. And to be quite honest, I thought Edge performed pretty well. And Moxley for his age, I got no beef, but Edge for 53, I give him his props.
Yeah, look, this is what aggravates me. You talk about people bitching about shit. They're bitching about well, AEW it's all a bunch of WWE wrestlers who's been let go or whatnot. And my thing is this: if this was professional football, when someone gets cut from the team, right, they go to another team if that other team sees a value in them. Why people can't see this in professional wrestling? I don't know because what do they believe that if so and so gets cut from WWE or they don't resign with them, then that means that either their career's over or they only have to the only other option is for them to wrestle for some shitty independent promotion. That's ridiculous. Obviously, if you own a wrestling promotion and you see someone get let go or they don't re-sign a contract with WWE or TNA, you're going to pick that person up if you believe that they're good enough. So this argument people have when it comes to that, it's dumb. And wrestling fans have really become dumb. I'm not joking. Every day when I'm reading stuff and things that some wrestling fans say, I'm like, my God, do these people just live in their mommy's basement playing Dungeons and Dragons all day and have no life and not able to be a critical thinker? It drives me insane.
Well, you got to remember though, anybody that's under probably, I don't know, 37 doesn't remember that, we saw this happen many times. I mean, if you're over 45, you remember all the territories. And one week you'd see Bruiser Brody in Puerto Rico, and the next week you'd see him in Tennessee. The next week you'd see him, well, maybe not next week, but NWA or Continental. I mean, these guys all bounced around, the Northwest Territory in Oregon, Florida. You saw these guys, 6 months they'd be in place, and 6 months later they'd be somewhere else, and 6 months later they'd be somewhere else, and 2 years later you see them back in the original place you saw them. So I mean, this was not uncommon back in the day. Nobody bitched about it. They did, but we didn't see it on the internet because there was no internet.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I look at professional wrestling like any other sport. When you have one person leave one promotion, if they're good enough, then they're going to be picked up by another promotion. And again, I don't know why most wrestling fans can't view it this way. And speaking of people showing up in other places, um, this coming Monday night on the debut of a Raw on Netflix, I would dare to say that we're going to see an AEW guy debut on Monday Night Raw, and that's going to be Penta from the Lucha Bros. So I think that that's going to be happening. I'll be shocked if he doesn't debut on Monday. So I'm looking forward to this Monday. But this is the thing. They're talking about how big Monday's going to be on Netflix, right? I hope that this isn't the same shit that WWE seems to be doing, which is saying how big something is, and it turns out to be a dud. Saturday night's main event that we just had. It's supposed to be these great things happening. That was a dud. This past Monday night, the last Raw on USA Network. What?
Last 3 weeks on both SmackDown and Raw
Yeah,
were kind of
yeah. It's just a bunch of duds. So I hope Netflix, or Raw on Netflix. I really hope that this show is going to be big. Look, to be honest with you, I'm not expecting most of Raw on Netflix to feel like a pay-per-view or a PLE, but their debut on Netflix, Monday night should very much feel like a PLE type of a show.
absolutely, absolutely. And to be quite honest, I'm probably looking more forward to Punk versus Seth than I am Roman versus Solo.
Yep, yep, I agree. Now there's rumors, and again, it's rumors that CM Punk is going to be turning heel because at WrestleMania, it's going to be Cena versus Punk.
Really, I was kind of hoping for Punk to go for the world title, not necessarily win, but to get a run for it. But
Well, like I said, it's rumors. It's just kind of what's being floating around. Uh, it may or may not happen. I'm not sure. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
I thought Cena was retiring after WrestleMania, but it sounds like he's going to the end of the year. How often he's going to be there, I'm not sure.
So, from what I gathered, this is truly going to be his last tour, basically, and he's supposed to be showing up at every Raw there is because kind of like what Sting did with AEW, he did all the cities one more time. And that's basically what's going to happen. I he's going to be this coming Monday night, and his last time with WWE is going to be the Monday night before the new year of 2026. So,
Now, if it was me and I was Cena, one, unless they're writing him a fat check, and they probably are, um, he makes more money doing movies, and less wear and tear on his body and travel. Of course, when you make the money he makes, travel is probably not as big of a deal as because you're flying instead of driving everywhere. Um, but I would have gone to WrestleMania and called it a day. Period. To end. You know,
well, I think he wants to give the fans because their last view of him, and going back to that rumor, the reason why I kind of believe it's just a rumor, is because my prediction is John Cena is going to win the Royal Rumble, and he is going to be the one that's going to take the belt off of Gunther. This is what I'm predicting. And for the next, you know, however many months after WrestleMania, before he leaves for good, that he's going to be the world champ.
well, I don't think he's going to carry it that long.
Oh, I do.
Um, I could see him taking a world title just to beat Ric Flair's record. The difference with Ric Flair's record is one is disputed because there's claims that he's had up to 22 world titles. The other thing is all Zena's titles are in the WWE, and Ric Flair's can split between WWE or WWF and NWA or WCW. So I don't carry it. To me, it doesn't carry as much credibility. To other people, they probably don't care. A world title's a world title, but you know, to me, I think if you get world titles in two different companies, I think it carries a little bit more. How do I say stroke? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But that's because the era that you and I grew up in watching on professional wrestling. But I believe that Cena is going to carry that title most of 2025.
Cena, I see Cena just being a jobber the rest of your elevating younger talent. You know, I don't. I see him carrying a world title just to break Ric Flair's title, but I can't see him carrying it for 7, 8 months. You know,
Well, we'll
Okay,
see.
we'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, and that's pretty much it for the AEW recap. Bob Cook will be on the podcast this coming Thursday, a week from today. So really looking forward to that. Of course, Bob Cook, he was, WCW, he's been with WWE. He's had titles. Matter of fact, him and George South, at one point, I believe, were tag team titles or tag team champions. But yeah, looking forward to that interview this coming Thursday. So you guys be on the lookout for that. Also, please subscribe to our channel. It's free. I have some other people who will be coming on the show that I think people will be interested in seeing. Yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for the recap for tonight. So you have anything, Mark?
Nope. Just stay warm. Go Vikes and ring the damn bell.
Ring the damn bell, everybody, and we will see you guys on Saturday. So until then, you guys have a great night.